Okay, so you want to get rich doing a canned food business. I get it. It's the ultimate food entrepreneur's dream. You have a killer recipe. Maybe it's your grandmother's legendary spicy black bean chili, or some hyper niche, organic, vegan lentil soup that your friends swear is amazing. You look at the grocery store shelves, see a massive gap in the market, and think you can easily conquer that aisle. You envision the process. You just cook it, put it in a cute little tin, slap a minimalist pastel label on it, and watch passive income roll in from supermarkets nationwide. Look at this, everyone says. It's basically printing money. Infinite ROI. Here is the problem. You aren't opening a kitchen. The truth is, a canned food brand isn't really a culinary business. It's a ruthless, heavy metal commodities and freight logistics operation, randomly dressed up as an artisanal food venture. You aren't a chef anymore. You are a logistics manager holding a very heavy bag of metal and water, begging middlemen not to bleed you dry. Let's open up the P and L, the real one, not the Excel fantasy you pitched to your uncle for seed money, and see where your cash is actually bleeding out. Grab a coffee. This is going to hurt. First, let's look at the manufacturing trap. You have two choices in this game. Build your own canning facility or hire a contract manufacturer, a co-packer. Let's look at building your own. You think you just buy a big pot, a canning machine, and start boiling? Wrong. We are dealing with low-acid foods in hermetically sealed containers. Do you know what happens if your seal is off by a fraction of a millimeter? Clostridium botulinum, botulism. You don't just get a bad Yelp review. You kill a family in Ohio, trigger a massive federal recall, and go to federal prison. To prevent this, the FDA and USDA regulate canning like it's the nuclear energy industry. You need commercial retorts. These are massive industrial pressure cookers that cost $150,000 to $300,000 used. You need a highly calibrated double seamer machine. You need to hire a designated process authority, an actual scientist, to mathematically validate your heat penetration rates and file your scheduled processes with the FDA. You will spend $500,000 before you legally seal your first commercial can. Math doesn't care about your feelings. So, you take the smart route, you hire a co-packer, you let them handle the million-dollar machines and the FDA inspectors. Great. But co-packers don't turn on their massive industrial lines for your little 5,000-can hobby project. They demand minimum order quantities, MOQs. A standard MOQ in the canning world is 50,000 cans per run, per flavor. You want to launch 3 flavors of your artisan soup? Congratulations. You just committed to 150,000 cans. Do you know what 150,000 cans look like? It is an absolute mountain of steel. It takes up multiple semi-trucks. You are now sitting on a warehouse full of heavy metal. You owe the co-packer a massive check and you haven't sold a single unit to a customer yet. Next, we have to dissect your unit economics and the silent killers. Let's break down the true cost of goods sold, COGS. Let's say you want to sell a premium organic chili. You look at Whole Foods and see similar items selling for $4.99. You think, beans are cheap. Water is virtually free. I'll make a killing. Let's look at the actual invoice for a single 15 ounces can. The food. The actual organic beans, spices, and filtered water. Cost $0.45. The metal. The empty tin plate can and the pull tab lid. The price of steel is highly volatile, tied directly to global commodity markets. If a steel mill in China sneezes, or a shipping canal gets blocked, your margins vanish. Cost $0.38. The label and packaging. Lithographic printing for the paper label, plus the corrugated cardboard tray and shrink wrap to hold the 12-pack cases. Cost $0.12. The co-packer's toll, their labor, electricity, machine depreciation, and profit margin for actually cooking and packing your chili. Cost $0.65. Inbound freight. Shipping those incredibly heavy, liquid-filled cans from the co-packer in Ohio to your 3PL third-party logistics warehouse in New Jersey. Canned food is dense. You will weigh out, a truck hitting the 45,000-pound legal highway limit long before you fill up the physical space inside the trailer. Cost $0.15. Your total landed COGS, $1.75 per can. You look at that and smile. I make it for $1.75. I sell it for $4.99. I am a business genius. No, you are blind. You don't sell it for $4.99. The retailer sells it for $4.99. You sell it to a mega distributor like Kihei or UNFI, and distributors demand a 25% to 30% margin just to move your boxes. Retailers demand a 35% to 40% margin to put it on a shelf. Here's the actual math of how money flows backward from the shelf to your pocket. Retail price, $4.99. Retailer buys it from distributor for $3.15. Retailer keeps $1.84. Distributor buys it from you for $2.35. Distributor keeps $0.80. Your wholesale price is $2.35. Your COGS is $1.75. Your gross profit is $0.60 per can. Wait, we aren't done. That $0.60 is not yours to keep. The grocery industry is a cartel, and everyone wants a cut. Enter the hidden costs. 1. The broker fee. You didn't get into Kroger or Safeway by yourself. You hired a food broker with industry connections. They take a flat 5% commission on your wholesale price. Minus $0.12. You are down to $0.48. 2. The slotting fee extortion. Supermarkets don't just put your product on the shelf because it tastes good or has a nice logo. Shelf space is real estate, and you have to pay rent. It's called a slotting fee. It can cost $100 to $300 per flavor, per store, just to get on the shelf for a trial period. If you launch 3 flavors in 200 stores, that's $60,000 in pure cash you have to hand to the retailer up front. How do you pay for this? It gets deducted directly from your invoices as trade spend. Minus $0.15 per can. You are down to $0.33. 3. The swell allowance, spoilage, and damage. Cans are tough, right? Sure. But if a forklift driver at the distributor's warehouse drops a pallet and dents a bunch of cans, supermarkets will refuse them. Consumers absolutely do not buy dented cans. Do the multi-billion-dollar distributors eat that cost? Absolutely not. They write an automatic 1.5% to 2% swell allowance or damage deduction into your vendor contract. They just short pay your invoice before you even see it. Minus $0.04. You are down to $0.29. 4. Storage and pallet fees. You are holding 150,000 cans in a 3PL warehouse. They charge you a fee just to receive the trucks. They charge you a monthly storage fee for every single pallet sitting on their racks. They charge you a pick and pack fee every time they load a new truck. Also, you don't even own the wooden pallets your cans sit on. You rent them from a monopoly like CHEP. Minus $0.09 per can. Your actual net margin? $0.20 per can. You make 20 cents. If you want to clear a very modest $100,000 a year in personal income to justify quitting your day job, you need to sell 500,000 cans annually. That is roughly 41,600 cases. That is almost 400 heavy wooden pallets moving across the country, being negotiated, shipped, and shelved every single year. Can you move 400 pallets a year? Finally, let's talk about the cash conversion chokehold. This is where the pragmatic microeconomist inside me laughs, and where 90% of canned food startups die. It's not a lack of profitability that kills you, it is the cash conversion cycle. Let's trace your dollar. Day 0. You have to wire your co-packer 50% upfront to buy the raw beans, secure the tin plate, and schedule the factory run. Your cash is gone. Day 45. The cans are produced. You pay the remaining 50% balance. You pay the freight broker to truck the heavy load to your warehouse. You are deeply in the red. Day 60. Your broker finally lands a purchase order from a major distributor. You ship the product out. Day 90. The product hits the retail shelf. Consumers start buying it. Day 120. The distributor's invoice comes due. They operate on net 30 or net 60 terms, which means they don't pay you until 30 to 60 days after they receive the goods at their dock. Often, they pay late. Let's call it day 120. Your money has been locked inside heavy metal cylinders, sitting in dark warehouses or on moving trucks for 4 months. Now, imagine your chili is a massive hit. It's flying off the shelves. The distributor calls on day 75 and says, "We are out of stock. We need another 50,000 cans immediately." You panic. You haven't been paid for the first run yet. Where do you get the cash to pay the co-packer for the second run? You don't have it. You have to take out a high-interest line of credit or use a factoring company to buy your unpaid invoices at a brutal 3% to 5% discount. You are literally growing yourself right into bankruptcy. The faster you grow, the more cash you bleed. This industry punishes success just as severely as it punishes failure. Look at a revenue chart of a successful canned food business. It doesn't look like a smooth, sexy, upward trending software as a service curve. It looks like a terrifying staircase of massive cash injections, followed by agonizingly long flat lines of waiting for checks to clear. You came into this thinking you were selling culinary art. But culinary art doesn't matter when freight rates for heavy cargo spike by 15% because diesel fuel prices went up. Grandma's recipe won't save you when your distributor slaps you with a massive $500 chargeback because your label's barcode didn't scan correctly at their automated receiving dock. The brutal reality? The canned food business is a game of pennies masked as a game of flavors. In this industry, the winner isn't the dreamer who makes the best tasting product, uses the most organic ingredients, or designs the most beautiful packaging. The winner is the one who controls velocity and freight density. If you can turn your inventory faster than your payment terms and mathematically pack more ounces of liquid onto a standard 48x40 wooden pallet than your competitor without crushing the bottom row, you survive. If you can't, you will just be another person holding a very heavy, very expensive bag of metal.